and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the Hana Highway Bridge Improvement public meeting. I believe it's our fourth public meeting, and we are very excited to be here in person and to provide you with an update on the status of the project. Give you an idea of what's going to happen in the next couple of months as we move into the advertisement of this project and ultimately into construction. Give you a little bit better understanding of what to expect during the construction of this project and what will have to be done to construct this bridges, including the roadway closures that are actually very necessary for us to construct this challenging and very important project for this island. Couple of housekeeping items. This meeting is recorded. There are folks online. Sure. No, there will be the slides and all of the information that's presented today will be available to the public, and I'll share the information where you can get that. We do have some refreshments, a couple of snacks on the back table over there, and also a sign-in sheet will be passed around. So if you could put your contact information, it will be very important to see who was here and how we can reach you in advance of this project. And the same thing goes for folks on call in the virtual part. We will be monitoring the chat room, so if you have any questions, please type them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll make sure that your question is being answered. Next slide. A couple of disclaimers. It really just refers to the information that's presented today. It states that for informational purposes only. That's basically, I'm not going to read the disclaimer, but it's available for anybody to read. So we have a couple of folks attending this meeting with us, and I would like to spend a couple of minutes introducing the team. So representing HDAT, starting with Hawaii Department of Transportation, we have Kai Kukuroku, who is the acting district engineer from Maui. My name is Tom Cook, I'm the project manager for Federal Highway Administration, Central Federal Lands. We also have from Western Federal Lands, we have Melissa Hogan, who is the Environmental Protection Specialist, and Mike Shirkey, who's the project archaeologist. And then we also have our design team from HDR. We have Jordan Leimacher, design project engineer, design project manager, Devin Freeman, our structural lead, and Chad Blackwell, our cultural lead. Before getting into the nuts and bolts of the presentation, I just want to give a very quick update on how the highway is involved in this project. We've been working with Hawaii Department of Transportation since 2013. We entered into a partnership to be able to assist HDAT with delivery of their transportation improvement projects. So since 2013, we've delivered about 12 projects at a construction cost of about $172 million. So we've had projects on every single island, including Oahu, Hawaii, and Lahaina Bypass is the project that CFL delivered on the island of Maui. Also part of that agreement was a peer-to-peer exchange, which basically allowed us to share best practices between CFL and HDAT to be able to improve the project delivery process. Following is the agenda for the project for this meeting today. We'll do a very brief project overview. We're going to describe how we got to the recommendations that we are proposing today. We would like to concentrate on the bullet regarding the constructability and traffic control. We want to make sure that you guys have a good understanding of how this project will be constructed and what will happen during the construction and how the traffic will be controlled around the construction and work zone areas. Obviously, we'll give you an update on the schedule of the project, and we do have a number of time allowed at the end of the meeting to do any questions, comments, and have an open discussion about the project. So I'll do a very brief project overview, and I do have to get my notes because the information on the slide is somewhat difficult to read. But really, we are looking to improve 6 bridges along Hana Highway. And we want to make sure that the bridges along Hana Highway are still providing safe and functional roadway system. The location or the bridges were actually identified by closely coordinating with HDOT, and they've been selected based on the existing conditions of the bridges. So we have 6 bridges. We have Bridge 2 at Caligula Stream at milepost 5.9, and I'm working the numbering from west to east. Bridge 5 at Ice Stream Bridge, mile point 8.2. Bridge 8.
Technical difficulty.
For interrupting that.
I appreciate that.
I don't know how to get back.
Oh, sorry.
No, my bad. She was smarter.
All right. So our summary of our results after looking into both rehab and replacement is when we looked into rehabilitation, we found that actually the construction duration would be longer, the traffic impacts would be greater. The existing structure is either concealed or rebuilt. There's a high risk with the rehabilitation. And then also the shorter design life. We are trying to achieve a 75+ design life of these bridges and extend their lives for as long as we can. So we went ahead and actually looked at replacing the bridges instead, which do allow us to actually keep more of the historic structure, the piers underneath and the abutments as well, and a lower cost, lower risk, and lower impact to all users of the roadway. So I'm going to hand it over to Darren here in a moment, but overarching our proposed solution, this is a good example of what several of our bridges look like that we're proposing. These are the CRM existing abutments, and these are the railings, and we're going to keep these similar features and just build our bridge behind these. So I'll let Darren go ahead and get into the design of how we approach that.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. So I'll go bridge by bridge here. I just want to clarify, we spent years going over exhaustively the rehabilitation options, trying to figure out ways to just keep these existing structures and somehow strengthen them up to the current requirements. If you go to the next slide, so this Caligula Stream Bridge is bridge number 2. This is the color coding here. It's a little hard to see, but basically the green means the structure is retained. Orange means it's completely replaced or rebuilt, and then blue means altered. So like for the rehabilitation, when we say altered, that means we've done something to strengthen the bridge. So we looked at things like fiber wrap, adding additional concrete beams, even putting like a brand new barrier in front of the existing barrier and keeping the old one intact for historical reasons. Obviously, if you think about those types of treatments, probably not the best looking. And then there's obviously the technical constraints that Jordan mentioned in terms of cost. It's very painstaking work to implement those types of features. And then really this reconstruction of the abutment, we had that identified as well because when you put a modern load on, the abutments just couldn't hold that additional weight that was required. So we actually were looking at how to rebuild the foundations of the bridge anyway. So as Jordan alluded to, looking at the replacement alternatives, basically doing this kind of checks all the boxes and all the requirements. So we get the width of the bridge that we want. We get a new modern railing that looks similar to this, but is much stronger and satisfies current code requirements. And then we can actually just essentially abandon the weight that's on these 2 abutments and just bridge over these abutments and put new foundations behind each of the new abutments. So this, when we really thought about it, this is actually a lot cleaner solution than trying to painstakingly patch together the existing bridges. We go to the next slide here. So this is a rendering of what the new bridge will look like. And as you can see, it looks very similar to the old bridge. It's not going to have the white paint that the original bridge had, but very similar. These are new cement rubble masonry, is what it's called. It's basically a rock wall that's masoned together. Those will be new barriers leading up to the bridge. But that's essentially what that new bridge will look like. It's a concrete bridge with concrete railing. Next slide. So the second bridge is the Mackinac Stream Bridge. It's bridge number 5. The unique thing about this is the shortest bridge on the project. So this bridge is only 25 feet long, so it's very short. How's it going? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So this one, if we go to the next slide, I won't go into as much detail, but similarly, you can see the color coding. You know, if you imagine the superstructure there in blue being patched together with rehabilitated elements, just it's very difficult work as opposed to just putting in a brand new span going over the abutments. So next slide, and then here's a nice rendered view. As you can see, it's very, very similar to the existing bridge. Obviously, the new bridges won't have the water staining and the moss just yet, but that'll happen with time. So go on to the next one. So Puahokamoa stream bridge. What did I do there? Okay. So this one's unique. This is a two-span bridge. What's interesting about this, you can't really see it in here, but it says AD 1912 on the downstream face, so that's a very defining characteristic of this bridge. And then you have this nice trapezoidal shaped pier here. So going to the next slide, again, a lot of rehabilitation efforts would have to go into this. The replacement option allows us to retain this pier, which is very striking visually as you're driving towards the bridge, and it also lets us retain these abutments. The new bridge will just span right over it, and it'll be a tiny little gap right above that existing pier. But yeah, the next slide. Yeah, so here's the rendering, and there's not a lot of detail shown here, but we are going to replicate the panels with the date. Also, we're working out those details, doing a new date stamp on the new bridge. So it'll be very similar to the existing bridge with the solid railing. Okay, next slide. So Ulaino Stream Bridge, number 39. So it's very.
No, it's not.
Is that correct?
No, it's not Ulaino.
What is it?
That's ours is the last bridge, 40.
Oh, it is? You're 40? Okay, we'll get to that one. The Ulaino Bridge 39.
That's not it. That's 40.
That's it.
That's it. That's Ulaino.
Yeah.
No, but what is the bridge called then? Because you live there, so.
Makula. Is it Makula?
What names? We call it.
Yeah, okay.
So,
They have it.
okay, so we're calling this Bridge 39.
Yeah,
Let's call it Bridge 39 for now, and we'll talk. You'll see a little more detail here. So let's go ahead and flip to the next slide. So here's the elevation view. And so two-span bridge, historic picket railing. It's got this pier right here. The rehabilitation options. We were even showing that this pier would have to be removed or replaced. So with the replacement option, again, we're just spanning over everything. The abutments remain in place. New superstructure. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So here's the rendering of what that would look like. Extremely similar to the existing bridge. Any questions on this? We'll just keep going here at 40. There's a little anticipation built up here. Makula Hua.
Oh, maybe it's switched around then.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get that.
So Bridge 40, and there is a residence right over here. So this is the interesting thing about this. This is the oldest bridge on the entire corridor. So this original bridge was built in 1908. If you go to the next slide, you'll see it's actually 3 spans. It's got these existing concrete piers, very short spans. Again, very difficult rehabilitation. Our new bridge is going to be a concrete slab that spans over these, and we're going to keep all these elements in place and just bridge right over them. If we go to the rendering. So again, very similar to existing, but it's still going to be a 1-lane bridge. And yeah, so I think that's it. If we go to the next slide, I think we're, okay, so this one. So this is one of the most unique sites on the whole corridor, Kapiliula Stream, it's Bridge 19. So this is the one location where we're actually going to keep this existing structure exactly as is. We're not actually going to do anything to this bridge. And the main reasons driving this is the historic irrigation fixtures that are attached to the bridge, and then you have these historic weir structures upstream of the bridge. And so those defining characteristics kind of outweighed replacing in place. So here's the existing bridge. If we go to the next slide, this kind of talks about rehab versus replacement. This shows the entire bridge green, as in we're keeping the whole bridge. Go to the next slide. So here's the aerial view. You can see the new bridge is adjacent immediately downstream from the existing bridge. And then here's the rendering of that. So the two bridges right next to each other. So again, kind of replicating the look of the existing bridge with the solid railings and the masonry approach walls. Okay. I think Jordan.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so now that everyone kind of saw what we're going to be doing for each of the bridges, I'm going to talk a little about the constructability and the traffic control and methods that we're looking at using. So we definitely had a lot of considerations that we heard from everyone over our last public meetings. Some of those big ones are obviously road closures, challenging terrain, the narrow road limitations, retaining historic character, and then weight limits and other factors that we had to consider when we went into looking at how we were going to construct these bridges. For the next slide. So we really wanted to make sure we have the least amount of impact to all of roadway users across Hana Highway. So we went ahead and looked at initially a bypass bridge. Maybe you've seen these on the island. Sometimes they go by afro bridges. So these are used as temporary alternatives to driving on the bridge while they're working on it, and then you have this bypass to just adjacent. However, when we started looking at this, we realized this isn't the best, as it does impact users for many months to potentially many years. Actually has a really big risk to private landowners and property owners. So we actually went ahead and eliminated this and went towards a different accelerated bridge construction alternative. Slide. So here you'll kind of see a representation, example of a bridge slide, or lateral bridge slide is another word for it. So these are called accelerated bridge construction techniques. This allows us to build a bridge adjacent to the existing bridge. In our case, it's going to build downstream of 4 of the 6 bridges. We're going to do this, and we will slide into place over a closure window. This allows us to have the least amount of impact to all users, as we can just have one continuous closure, and those continuous closures are going to be up to 84 hours at these 4 bridge sites, actually 5 of the 6 bridge sites. So up to 84 hours, there is incentives for the contractor to finish that faster than 84 hours, which we hope to see that, but we do want to plan for the worst case scenario. So it would be from 6 p.m. on Thursday evening until Monday at 6 a.m. Again, that would happen 5 times over approximately a 3-year period. There is also going to be plans for some overnight closures. Those happen at each bridge location, and those would be also communicated as well, like a closure, but those would only be a shorter duration during the evening. All of these type of closures are going to have to be communicated regularly with everyone here. Every user that uses Hana will be our role to campaign out that message through email, texting, on the project website, which the contractor who will be doing this work will have to maintain every day. 14-day notice minimum is required to be sent out to everyone for these type of closures. That 84-hour closure, I understand it's a big, big duration there, but with the most limited duration we can have, it was able to, we're only have to have 5 times versus having several impacts, many days, many closures throughout full days. This allows us to really hit just a tighter window all around. If you go to the next slide. I'll let Darren kind of go into what that's going to look like on that closure window, and so how we can push through and get an entire bridge in place in 84 hours with a lot of bridge slide.
Yeah, and I just wanted to highlight the 84-hour window, the lateral bridge slide. It's a very aggressive construction technique, and it's actually very rarely used, not just because it's so aggressive. Generally, contractors don't like to go really fast. So it's kind of a premium to make the contractor go very fast and do a lot of work in a small amount of time. But as Jordan mentioned, 4 of the bridge sites are going to have this lateral bridge slide technique. I'll just kind of step everybody through what that's going to kind of look like. So the initial work, this guy running by here. The initial work here is that when the contractor arrives at the site, some of the first things you'll start seeing at each site, you've got a traffic diversion barrier here, kind of pushing traffic over to kind of the far side of the road. And then you'll see the contractor coming in and staging these work areas. So there's going to be some clearing and maybe some minor rock work to get everything kind of set. And these are going to be the work areas that the contractor is going to be working in. When the road is open to traffic, traffic will be able to flow through here. We've got some temporary signals here. The contractor will be able to work behind these barriers during the day. Next slide. So step two of this bridge slide process. So you'll start seeing a bridge being constructed off to the side. It'll be kind of strange looking, but it'll just be a brand new bridge being built off to the side of the bridge site. While this is happening, so these orange rectangles here represent construction that's going to be taking place during nighttime closures. So what this is, it's a method, it's called cut and cover. So the contractor can go in when the road is closed and cut a trench into the roadway and actually construct the future foundations for the new bridge. When the closure is over in the morning, the contractor will cover these excavations with structural lids that cars will actually be able to drive over. So we can reopen the roadway to traffic, they'll drive over these covers, and the construction will be underneath, and then when the next nighttime closure happens, the contractor removes the covers and continues working. Next slide, please. So you can see the hatching now, the temporary barrier is gone, and now the whole site is hatched. So this represents kind of the beginning of the full closure, that 84-hour closure that Jordan was referring to. So the first step of this is the contractor is going to demo the existing bridge. It's going to be done in a very careful fashion with netting to prevent any debris from going into the streams. That's a very important point that we're going to have the contractor do. Once the bridge is demoed, we basically expose the proposed new abutments here. And it's not actually shown in here, but there's actually a trackway that the bridge is going to slide on. I think that first slide showed the trackway. The trackway actually connects up to the abutments, and then the actual bridge slide happens within the 84-hour full closure. The actual slide itself should only take 2 to 3 hours. It actually doesn't take very long. It's everything leading up to it is what really takes a long time. So we go to the next slide. So the bridge gets slid to place, and then hydraulic jacks lowers it down onto its final bearing locations. Once it's set down on the bearings, that's the final position of the bridge. It's set in place. Then the contractor can come in and backfill behind these abutments, bring up the subgrade. Bring up the subgrade up to basically just below the pavement elevation, put the final pavement in, approach slabs, and then we go to the next slide. He doesn't have to get all of the work done in the full closure. So like some of the approach barrier work, we expect that to happen outside of the full closures. But what we can do once the full closure is lifted is we can put temporary barriers in that keep us safe. And then traffic can proceed to drive on the brand new bridge with temporary barriers in place. And then the final slide. Temporary barriers are gone, the new approach guardrails are installed, the contractor is going to restore the work areas that he is working in, and this would represent the completed, finished project. I think that's it. Right, and Tom, you talk schedule?
So sure. So over the next couple of months, we're anticipating finishing up the design phase of this project. We're hoping to wrap it up by February of next year of 2026. We are looking at advertising the project for bids in the spring of 2026. That is pending the acquisition of the temporary construction easements that are required for construction of this project and obtaining the approvals on the environmental permits that we are currently working on obtaining. We are anticipating this project or construction of this project taking about 3 years. With 6 bridges and the location of those bridges along Hana Highway, we're anticipating that the contractor will be able to build 2 bridges per year for the total construction of 3 years. Now, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of this. This is our estimate, and that's how we develop our contract. But it will be up to the contractor to really suggest the methods that they're planning on using and the proposed construction schedule that will be submitted to us for our review and approval. Next slide, please. So a couple of next steps, like I mentioned, over the next couple of months, we'll be wrapping up the design phase, preparing the procurement documentations in effort to get this project advertised and under construction in 2026, in the summer of 2026. A couple of important messages that we want to deliver to you and make sure that we have your engagement as this project is going into construction. Next slide, please. And there's a couple of ways that you can stay engaged in this project. Obviously, we really appreciate your attendance here today. If you could make sure that your contact information is on that sign-in sheet, and folks on the call, if you could do the same, that would be great. We do have a project website that is currently available. It's www.hanabridgeimprovements.com. If you scan this QR code, it will actually take you to that project website as well. We could add you to our distribution list, or you can email us any questions to hanabridgeimprovements@hdrinc.com. All of that information is on this slide. Next slide, please. I think this is the completion of our formal presentation, but we are very much willing to answer any questions you might have, and we're looking forward to continuing working with you as this project is finishing the design phase and ultimately going into construction. Yes.
Sorry, thought.
So the last conversation as a community meeting, we're still looking at 40 tons. Is that correct? As a weight limit?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually 36 tons.
36, okay.
Yeah, and it's full interstate highway loading. Like you can bring the biggest truck allowed legally across these new bridges. The old bridges will still be the 10-ton limit, unfortunately, until they're all replaced. But yeah, these brand new bridges will have full highway, interstate highway loading capacity.
Okay, so when the bidding goes out, I mean, truthfully, there's only one contractor that I hope they get it because of their reputation in doing such jobs. But do you guys look at all aspects of a bid, not just about the money, but then their track record is part of this bidding process, because that's important.
We are still working internally with our acquisition team to determine the best way of advertising this project, to make sure that we get the most qualified contractor that can do this project. This is going to be a very challenging project. And we want to make sure, and especially with some of the requirements that we're putting on the contractor, we want to make sure that the contractor who gets this bid is definitely qualified to deliver this work, because we especially with the closures that Darren mentioned or Jordan mentioned, there's not a lot of room for error, and we do not want to even entertain the idea of.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but appreciating.
Can you make the 4 bridges that's gonna have the slide and the food is not?
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yep. I go and try.
Sure, yeah.
There we go.
She will try. It's a pronunciation, so please tell them. Yeah.
So, bridge number 2, Kailua, will be 1.
I want to go back to the first slide.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. We can just look at it together here. There we go.
There.
So,
Bridge number 2.
perfect. That'll be a slide, bridge slide. Bridge number 5 is actually a little bit different than accelerated bridge construction, but will require 84-hour up to closure.
I'll just, Jordan,
Okay,
before you went, I'll
one
clarify. So that is going to be under the 84-hour closure, but we're not sliding because the north side of the bridge is a really tall waterfall, and then the south side of the bridge, the stream actually comes in at like a 45-degree angle, so you can't stage the bridge there. But it's so short that we're just going to stack the beams up, and then under the closure, we're just take a crane and set the beams next to each other, lock them together. So it'll be accelerated, and all be within that short window, but it's not going to be a slide. So just want to clarify that.
So not guided. You're saying not guided.
Kailua will be a slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nakanali will not be a slide.
It'll be under the
And then bridge 8, Kuohukamoa, that one will also be a sliding bridge method. Bridge 39, Uolino Stream Bridge, and bridge 40, doesn't stop, will also be a slide-in.
And then bridge 19, with the proposed improvements of the adjacent bridge, we do not need to do the slide in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did see a hand up in the back row. Yes.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for the design. It's a lot more about the bridges than the initial design. These are good. A couple of things. One, we're talking about having light control of the bridges. it's really useful if you can make it where you can see the other light. Because there's a lot of people that don't understand that you stop and wait for 10
Oh, the
minutes.
signals.
That's the people, yeah, the people are so naughty. It's the people, not the lights.
They can't read.
So that the lights can mitigate that. If you can see the other light, you can see there isn't anyone
No.
there. And going,
They'll shoot through.
Right,
then
that's,
you will
that's
blast through and they
sorry, that's not cool. That's the people, the astronaut, you gotta be patient, no.
I'm saying we can design to mitigate a known.
No, and I think our
That's-
intent is to place
No.
the temporary signals at the edges
Yeah,
of the
right.
work zone. Unfortunately, with the configuration of the roads leading to the bridges that we're replacing, we might not necessarily be able to place it in a way where you can see both of them at the same time. But I think our goal of staying engaged and ultimately with the public outreach plan that the contractor is required to do, we want to make sure that people are aware of those situations and they know that this is what they're going to encounter as they're driving through it during the construction.
So we've experienced this.
Yeah.
People have been notified. They've been very aware. And they raise one finger salute as they go by.
It's just
They
like,
blast through. They don't care, and it's not cool, I agree. If you want to put police on there to enforce it,
You just gotta be better humans.
just if you keep
What's
it
the matter with
keep it in mind and to design towards that.
it's like with the speed closure isn't necessarily at the end of the bridge, it might be around the corner, might be way down. So you have to-
It's on our good behavior. Like, seriously, we wouldn't say we're in Kahului and Fort Kelly Street and like, oh, there's no cars, let's go. It's just wrong. It's not even human, I mean,
Have you not
integrity.
seen that happen?
I travel the road quite frequently, and it's very frustrating with people who
No,
are,
have you not seen that happen?
So,
I have,
Yeah, that happens a lot. So it's a known problem and
but we gotta be
any
better
solution
people.
is a good step forward.
What side are you on? What crossing are you near that you've seen it? You
No,
said
he's
saw it.
down. I
Oh, geez.
mile marker 3 is one of them, mile marker 3. I know that straight offhand.
Is that one?
And I've been driving my parents during, because that one we did like the same thing. I do not condone putting our lives in danger with my two Kupuna parents, driving them to the doctors. From anybody, I don't care if you live here or you don't live here. We have faced head on because people are impatient. We need to shape up, whether you live here or not. It's frustrating. It happened twice.
Well, maybe the lights should be
It
set
is.
so that you don't wait for 10 minutes.
It's actually not 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a frustration, I wanna go.
So we actually
It's
do
not-
have, signals that do that, we will look at actually specing that in the contract, we've done that in other, rural areas,
It's
so we can look at those sensor, signals for the project, so.
So if there's nobody there, it'll just turn green.
If no one's there, it turns green, and if someone's there, then it turns.
And we even have, batteries stolen from the lights by Common, so that's another one.
So,
They're
so
talking
we
to-
can start with one or two, and start the Gully side coming into Hana, or is there a?
that will be determined by the contractor, how exactly they want to approach construction of the 6 bridges. We are not, going to tell them you have to start with this bridge and on this bridge, it will be really up to them.
We'll know which one's gonna.
Yeah, so they will have to provide us with the proposed schedule, and then they will have to make the public aware of their approach and how they're going to progress along
It's
Hana.
good to know a little bit in advance.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are, just to chime in there with like what Tom said, but we are limiting them to just having 2 bridge sites open at a time. So
Right.
you're not gonna have 6 bridges, just be 2 of them adjacent to each other that'll be open, so they can't hopscotch from like 2 and having 40 open. We don't want the
Right.
whole, we'd rather keep it limited to like sections of highway.
Yes. That's right.
You said each bridge, 3 days closure, full closure, and everybody should get a 2-week notice.
Mhm.
And so for 6 bridges, that'll be like 18 days over.
Over 3 years or so, yes.
That's gonna be a big one.
Yeah, that's.
What about
This is
the,
Yes.
people that deliver every day, like FedEx, mail, how's that going? Are they getting notified?
So, yeah, so a couple things. We will not be able to prevent people from accessing their properties. So the contractor will have to maintain access to everybody's property,
Right.
even during those closures.
I'm just saying that there's the usual deliveries, even food, supplies and whatnot.
And meal.
Will they be able to be notified?
So yes, so as a part of this public outreach, we were trying to brainstorm all of the different agencies of all of the different like emergency services, delivery services,
Okay.
that the contractor will have to notify. Obviously, we might not be able to research all of them, so if you know of any particular ones that are making deliveries to your area, or that you know that are making deliveries to somebody who might be in those areas, please let us know.
It'd be nice to have a site that they can go to, like, hey, we're gonna take this, it's on Monday, but we're gonna deliver it Thursday. Go on the site to see if there's any delays.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're gonna, run into, maybe they can go the other way.
So one of the things that we were just discussing before getting here is what makes the most sense in getting this message to the public. Obviously, there's the email, text, phone calls, flyers, but also if you know of the best way of getting this information to the public, if we have community service, religious buildings where we can post that information, where we know that we're going to get a lot of eyes on it, please let us know, and we'll be able to ask the contractor to put that information there. Our primary goal is for you not to be surprised with something happening in your area. So we will do whatever.
I'm just worried about, like, sometimes there's medicine coming in, or, report mail.
Right.
If they can be notified, they can also, a site they can go.
That's right.
We can talk in more details, yeah. My question about.
Along the line of the scheduling closures, if you're closing double closures for 84 hours at the same time, you got people either not, or overnight.
No, so that is not going to be the case.
Locked in.
No, that is not going to be the case.
Okay.
The contractor will not be able to do 2 closures at the same time. And there's also a duration between 2 closures. So it's like they won't be able to close one bridge and then 2 days later close the other bridge. There's no week difference between those 2.
You mean sides, so like Calpo is often closed, very often closed. So if we can't get out that way, and this way is closed, then we're sitting ducks in Hana. If you have a medical emergency, if someone's about to give birth, someone's, like, obviously they have life flight, but a lot of people, you just be stuck if both sides are closed.
Yeah, that's one of the definite challenges. And we're trying to minimize the duration of that closure, but we're looking at making sure that medical facilities on either end, either on Hana or on the other side, are accessible depending on where the closure is happening. But we've been going over that for weeks and months and years to make sure that we're not creating a very dangerous situation for folks that are living there.
The company on this side
2008.
work very closely with you guys
In
on the closure
2008, 2
days. I
weeks.
would think if you're closed, they would work real hard to make sure that this side is.
Okay.
At least one side is open, yeah.
Right.
There are times when on the Calco side, the road is closed for a very long time because of landslide. And have you got a thing in your contract that says, hey, you guys have to change your plan, you can't close the bridge the day you thought for the next 2 months because there's only one way out?
This is a great consideration, that we will decide if there's a known closure on that day, that we, would look at not doing on the 24-hour closure during that weekend. So we want to have it at 24 at all times, even if it's long. So we'll look into that. We'll work with Scott and see how we can coordinate to It's difficult when it's ongoing, knowing there might be an accident landslide, but we'll try our best, and I do appreciate that input.
We'll just connect with that Maui County Public Works.
Yep, we work closely with them too, so. Great, that's great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, will you, or will the contractor coordinate with the community for community events like a Aloha Week and things like that, so the road's not closed?
Yeah, so I think the contractor will make known to the communities when those closures are going to happen, what phasing they're anticipating doing, but again, that's the piece of information that if you know that there are certain days that we need to keep certain areas open, please let us know, and we can always put something like that in our contract to make the contractor know that certain things will be allowed to be held on this day or not.
Okay, also, Bridge 19, that's going to remain in place,
Yes.
and you're going to construct a new bridge alongside.
Yes.
Okay, one of the problems there is in both directions. It's one-lane roads there, and regularly, tourists especially, yeah, okay.
No, that's not.
Okay, on both sides, most of the tourists refuse to yield sometimes. And so there's major traffic jams, especially if you get a big truck. So like for the stoplight on here, it's gonna have to be about a quarter mile.
Yeah, and I think there are yield signs out there now, and what we are proposing to do as a part of our project is, our roadway improvements will extend a little bit past the bridge, but we're not anticipating doing additional roadway widening on either of their approaches.
A little roadway widening there.
We are not planning on doing roadway widening. I mean, there is an existing footprint of the roadway here out that we're probably going to stay within. And the same thing goes on the other side of the bridge. So we're planning on staying within that existing footprint.
One thing that, with the depth divide there on this side is a little bit wider, to have that unit that Tom pointed out.
Yeah.
And this curve is a little softer now, so hopefully that creates just a little bit more space there. Because the barrier will be here, that'll block off this bridge. So.
Okay.
We're not changing that line there.
Would you anticipate?
Okay, you can still walk across the whole bridge. Yeah, correct. No, it's gonna be,
Encourage
okay.
Would you anticipate the contractor that you select might want to make some major design changes that it's already been working on? Is that a possibility?
So with this method of contracting, we are not anticipating the contractor to do major design changes. There will be basically this building to the plans that we are providing them with. Yes, sir.
It's nice to see that you recognize that this is not a typical state highway.
Yep.
That it has a character of its own. And it's not a place to put cookie cutter prefab bridges over a stream, even though that's cheaper and more structurally sound and whatnot. But this road, these bridges were built when sugar was king in the first 15 to 20 years of the territory. There's a parallel road system and bridge system mount of that, built at the same time. And each one of these bridges has its own style, its own, it wasn't just a territorial contractor here build a bridge. Everyone's got different railings, different approaches, different foundations. And after 100 or some years, obviously there's cement cracks, exfoliation, rebarks, exposed and what that needs to be taken care of, stream damage and so forth. All the edges have been knocked by one truck or two or another. So there's needs to be replacement. I'm glad you're looking at not just typical contract to get a federal money. Last time, they made it a millennial trail, and we got a lot of federal money. A lot of the pullouts that used to be able to pull over to let traffic move through got covered up because they were required to put steel barriers in there to cover those pullouts out. And their signs, a forest of signs. And where you used to be able to have a yield sign for the person who had the best at both ends of the bridge, which is totally confusing. So I'm glad you're looking, there's federal highway required for the state of Hawaii.
Trying to match a couple things, or answer your question, Matt?
Sure, and we can chat more detail after this is in the time after this Q and A. But yeah, I mean, long story short, I mean, we're trying to retain those features that are.
But when you mention the word replacement, that's a whole different category than restoration, reconstruction, or restoration.
Absolutely. Yes, so you do have different standards for the Secretary of Standards, rehabilitation and preservation. What we're doing, I would say, is rehabilitation, although it's not exactly, one for one with bridges. We're replacing parts of it with in-kind materials and trying to stay with a similar design. So the railings, we're trying on each individual bridge, and you mentioned that different bridges have different railing details. We're trying to keep that on the new, the replacement structure, but then also retaining, like the rock wall abutments, the rock wall approaches, and barriers, so that it still has the same continuity with the rest of the building.
Is this the same ones that we went over maybe 6 years ago?
Probably.
Yes.
I think these bridges were the same ones that we worked with for a while, yes.
They went over all these things, so they require to have a community.
Yeah, this is the fourth public meeting.
Because you guys kept coming for a while.
So we were
Stop.
deciding, taking on public comments, and how can we treat this, how can we make this, closure time shorter, things like that.
I'm just asking because I think we went over a lot of good stuff already.
Yeah, no, and I think probably these slides are very similar to the slide we had in the public meetings that were held virtually in 2001, I believe. Obviously, although the slides,
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
So, although the slides are fairly similar, our design has advanced drastically since the last time you saw the slides.
So I hope you got that in addition to consulting with the community and the state and the feds and everybody else. Somebody needs to be talking to the county, because whatever they do on the county road affects state highway traffic and vice versa. A lot of the problems in the Kikaru roads even 10 years older than this road. So those bridges, if they were, when you all did the last repair and repaving, you had whoever was in they had the smarts to scrape it down to the cement, take off the overburden. The county contract saved a lot of money by just paving over whatever was there before. So some of those railings that started out as 4 feet high are now 7 inches high. Right?
Yes.
Right over it. So if in 1910, if it had a weight limit of 5 tons and there's 3.5 tons of overburden on top of it, you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm glad you're looking at that, keeping that down, and that takes a lot of weight and pressure off those old.
And I think what we will do on the approach is we'll make sure that, because we drove the bridges yesterday, there's definitely overlays of number of inches on one side of the bridge and it's not on the other. So there's a lot of extra pavement that is on the bridges that maybe should have been there. But once these bridges are replaced, I think those issues will be addressed.
And you mentioned you had an archaeologist involved. Is there any botany part of this deal? Because we don't have very many native plants along the Hana Highway. But where there are mature koa and obia and koa, it would be nice if somebody knew that they were there, not just drop them down.
Absolutely, I'll let Jordan expand to it, but we did have a person out in the field last week basically collecting the information on the existing plans in Bridge 39 and 40. We are planning on having a reforestation or replacement of the plants in our contract documents. But we will be replacing them with native plants and try to restore them to the conditions that it was there before as much as possible.
So,
And correct me if I didn't
what's your
say.
name, sir?
Mark,
Okay, just me.
you can take all the African tulips you want.
Okay, yeah. So Kelly actually is our botanist, and she lives on Oahu, but she came over and she did tabulations of everything, which is like hundreds and hundreds of plants at the cultivated areas, and lots of them were not native, like you noted. So for our contract and what each type does is we want to make sure things come back native, and so whatever we put in, there'll be restoration plans that follow will be native. And we're happy to like have input of anything you guys like to see or need back, and whether it's, feel free to reach out to us, because we are looking at what that's gonna look like right now. So, but it will all be native when we come back with them.
I think there's a lot of those in here, multi-day mortgage.
Okay, that's for 40, okay.
Each area is gonna have different native,
Huh?
each area is gonna have different native plants, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I know.
Yeah.
Everyone has that.
No, and our botanist was there on both of those bridges.
Yeah, somebody called our office
Okay.
to call the guy who lives there.
To let them know that they're coming, yeah, it was,
And it
she was out there last week. Yes, sir.
Does the design incorporate any sort of patterning of the new concrete to make it look like rock or whatever was there in the prior?
So I'll read into that and we can compare and chime in too. So you're talking about these right here, this wall?
Well, no, let's see, you showed the 18 feet
Oh, like actual other concrete?
Like the
Match, right?
the railings, thank you.
Yeah,
The
so,
railings, are they just gonna be pure, simple concrete piers, or are they gonna have some design incorporated?
yeah, we're exploring that right now. We were out there this last week looking at all of them. We're gonna look at what we can detail out, what's practical, right? And even if that's like tinted, or we'll look at that. But, over time, eventually we'll start to look at it a little bit more.
It'll, yeah.
Yeah. We need a lot of.
No, but rock is rock and concrete.
And then as for the existing stone walls that are approaching there, the rock, we're gonna try to salvage a lot of that and then use that again on our crafts with the barrier, and then get that facade on the outside and try to, get a similar feel. It'll look a little different, but.
So you're saying the William Bridge, like, up that upper left, it looks similar to the columns? That's gonna stay in place like that? It's not gonna be.
Well, it'll be replaced, but the design that looks very similar to it, and similar to the different bridges in each one.
So all the wings
Yep.
are gonna be replaced?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
As a part of the bridge structure.
I thought it was just gonna be underneath.
No.
Like that was never really
Trails,
that wall and wall and columns.
Especially when we can.
Surprising.
Throw back in 2 weeks.
But
A lot of those stone wall buttons were put in the 1980s, so they did all that additional on there. A lot of times you got to the end of the bridge, and that was the only thing kept you from it.
The railing treatment they're showing here is so much better than the one they showed. Initially, the plan was so ugly. I mean, basically, we're gonna put kind of like guardrails in.
Yeah, we dismissed that.
That was really bad.
Yeah.
Still needs to be strong.
It is something that allows us to like design the different railing, but so we match tested, what it's called. So a lot of them crash worthy up to standards and everything.
So you actually did crash testing?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we did that special for this project.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Really stout barriers.
You had a question?
bear with me, I knew it was that.
Okay.
And I know you've heard a lot of questions asked, and you've had responses. I read all the documents, the 58 pages on the website. What jumps out at me is it was quoted back in, 2015, about, oh, that's my husband. It was mentioned in the reports for your documents that it's going to be approximately $40 million. Is that your fees for what you're analyzing, or have you found a contractor that has imposed the cost for his services? Is that
No.
your question?
Okay, so, no, so the $40 million is not design fees. Probably that $40 million dollar number is the estimated construction cost for the bridges, for the 6 bridges that we are proposing. And based on, so how the estimates work is the design team comes up with the estimate or engineer's estimate that we feel is going to cost to construct these bridges. But the contractors are not privy to those numbers. They just are privy to the items and quantity of items that it would take to construct the bridge. And then they will submit a bid based on the project information, all of the items that they're going to have to bid on. And then we are doing the bid opening. We'll see what the costs are coming in. But the current estimate is in that general 40 million plus range.
And part two, bear with me. Part two, do you have contractors from Oahu or wherever, like she mentioned, that somebody has a good reputation? Is that only one company that you do?
Yeah, so our goal is to have multiple bids, but then the project will be advertised, so all of the information will be shared through the websites of federal government advertised projects. We can't guarantee how many contractors will bid on the project, but we feel that the size and complexity and the cost of this project will make it attractive for contractors to go up on the project.
Thank you.
Where are you going to come in and out? Put all staging?
So we do have a couple of staging areas identified along the corridor. We can go into, like, I don't think in this presentation we have it identified exactly where it is, but we can talk to you after and show you exactly where we are anticipating staging areas.
Yeah, so actually just past Bridge 5, there's gonna be a spot, and then Bridge 19 is another spot just past there. They're flat kind of areas already. We're gonna get temporary construction easement, and that's where we'll place some of the equipment.
Are you still going through with I think Sarah was talking to me about, it's their property, right on the Kahului side of my bridge. Yeah. So you guys still gonna grade like 25 feet into her property?
We're going to the bridge, just,
I just didn't know if there was any
yeah.
actual.
We'll just make sure I think I know what you're talking about, Greg, but.
39.
39.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about on this side.
Yeah.
So right now we are looking at a temporary construction easement into that area, just slightly out, about 25 feet or so. We anticipate that area will be not super disturbed, probably just for staging of equipment, but yes, it will be on this side, and that's currently being negotiated with HDOT, so they'll be in contact with all of you on that. But yes, we are anticipating to have that. Okay. Or what do you mean?
Christie.
Okay, sorry. So you own that area up on this side up there. Okay, that's great. You've got your contact information here. Yeah, okay. Sarah, all right, away, we'll get in touch with you, kind of just talk through what we're looking at. It's a small sliver though. Okay.
And the actual decision on my mailbox and I think we talked about it yesterday morning.
Right here, yep.
And the hibiscus, the rare hibiscus.
Yep.
And that's not going to be messed with, right?
Yep, we're gonna be able to kick it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's another consideration, because, if there's a staging area with all the equipment and overnight and all that, like in the last construction project,
they actually had somebody there all night long watching the equipment because people will, depending on what you have there, you know, there are people on the island that will
Well, down the
possibly
road.
mess with
Down the road,
things
super
when nobody's there, so you might wanna consider having a guard that,
That's good to know, thank you for pointing it out. I think ultimately it will be up to the contractor on how they want to protect their equipment when it's staged there. But it's, we can, thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah.
There was another,
Yeah, the contractor or the bids will be for the entire project, not,
yes, so we are planning on advertising this project as a one big package of 6 bridges. Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of talk about 40 tons for the bridges, and I understand they're being designed to that. Does that mean there's plans to label the highway as a 40-ton highway?
No.
Yeah, currently the highway is called the weekend bridge.
Yeah, the highway falls
Yeah,
out
on
from the
that.
cars.
No, but no can, because
Yeah,
it could never be labeled that.
right. Well, that's,
But what durability, because they were designed for 75 years and we very largely exceeded that time limit of 75.
Yeah.
We're on 114.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet.
Because my grandma was 114 years old in 1911. My grandma would have been 114 years old, so that's 1911.
So what communicated or talked with the HDOT, base yard at K&I, so they know?
I'm sorry, what?
Has there been communication with the HDOT, base yard at K&I?
So we have a H that represented the time. We've been coordinating with the Maui district quite a bit during this project, and we'll do so for the remainder of the design phase and construction.